7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on a tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, El Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Welcome to 32 Kings Road, hosted by the league ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 54 of our show. And we are going we're going to examine the NFL at the halfway point of the season. But first, as a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com, where you can see previous episodes of our podcast, 32 Kings Road, as well as our secondary show, Confirmation Bias. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, on YouTube. And I did say that, and I'll say it again. Also, we are available at any podcast catcher. So that's Google Play, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. We've got a fun show. It is Halloween Eve, and Kev is already ready. Sir, what you sipping on?
Hello, good people, boys and girls, children, trees and animals. I am Mr. Robert Norman, a.k.a. Bob Ross, for the next hour. But I would like to shed light on the fact that today is indeed National Candy Corn Day, which means that Omar and all you other heathens in the world who eat that trash will burn in hell.
Stop hating on the candy corn, son.
Junior Blue, what you sipping on, sir?
I got a little tequila today. You know, it's been a rough last couple days.
Okay.
Raiders and Dodgers. But
we don't have to talk about
that. I got to sip on this right here. 2 years, $65 million. That is what's left on Clayton Kershaw's deal if he does not opt out.
My stomach hurts.
And please, Kershaw, opt out. Because there's no way the Dodgers ever win a World Series if they still consider you as their number one ace.
Damn, no love, huh?
None.
Do you think if he opts out that we will let him walk?
Yes. I pray.
That's not the answer I was looking for.
Right.
I do.
I let him walk.
You think we let him walk?
Yeah. Should have been the goose calf, like you said.
I'm sipping on some Sierra Nevada. And what I am also sipping on is the success of one of our ambassadors, Coach Joe.
Yes, sir.
The St. Bernard's Vikings won the Santa Fe League. They finished the season with a record of 8-2. They are in CIF Division 13. And they are a 3 seed, and it's looking pretty good. So, you know, when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. We're rooting for you, Coach Joe. Can't wait to have you on the show when the season is done. But yeah.
Not to mention that they were 4-6 last year, and the year before that they were 1-9.
They were 1-9, yeah. First time that they've actually made the playoffs since 2011. Yeah. So you're representing us well, sir. Dad, what you sipping on, sir?
Well, I'm not sipping on anything right now because I consistently am always sipping on something every other time. So I gotta relax. But
sound like an AA meeting.
AA is for quitters. I'm sipping on the fact that when we did our preview show, that I'm wearing the same shirt and the same hat.
Did you do that on purpose?
No.
I didn't know until I looked at the tape.
Right. And speaking of sipping on, I found out this weekend from the homie Poe that you can actually smoke alcohol. As we had a hookah at the house after football, and instead of water, we filled it with vodka. That's the real thing, ladies and gentlemen.
If they didn't know, they know now.
They know now.
Yo, a drunk.
Jesus.
Redo, what you sipping on, sir?
Right now I'm sipping on this sober life, and let me tell you, boy, does it suck. So
You got something to tell us?
no, I got some driving to do later, so ain't no drink right now. I'm just like you today.
Okay, all right.
Yo, damn, I wish you would have seen Les's face. We had a whole different conversation.
Y'all ain't shit.
Oh boy.
But I'm also sipping on the fact that today was the NFL trade deadline. Came and went today, and it was almost like the NBA. The NFL trade deadline is usually quiet, but there were abnormally some notable trades today. The Rams, Jaguars, Broncos, Texans, Eagles, Detroit, Green Bay, the Skins all got involved today. You had notable players like Golden Tate, Dante Fowler, Clinton Dix, Demarius Thomas. They all switched teams today. So I'll throw it back to you guys. Who are the winners and losers of today's trade deadline?
Man, I think there's one team that is absolutely positively going for the moon this year. They did it in the offseason. They're doing it now. I think the Rams don't give a shit because they gave a third and a fifth to a guy who has basically been kind of a bust, but can flourish around those other guys.
Yes.
But he will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, so they're basically taking a flyer on a rental, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter, we're going for it.
They're trying to win the market. I mean, it's obvious. It is an open contest between the Rams and the Chargers to win LA because the loser
To win Kenya.
They've already won the market.
Yeah, because the loser definitely will be worse than what the Clippers have been for the past, 40 years.
But for those guys, though, Dev, I think all four of the Rams' front four are first-round picks, right, including Fowler now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that, I definitely think that they're all in. But then you look at it from Jacksonville's standpoint, I think because they have the young dude Ngakoue, and I think that they were likely to lose Fowler at the end of the season, it might as well get something for him instead of just letting him walk.
That makes sense, and 2 extra picks to hopefully find another quarterback instead of Blake Bortles. I think for me the winner is the fans because this was like you talked about the names Golden Tate, Demarius Thomas, even going back to Amari Cooper, Snacks Harrison. The players that have moved in all of these teams got players that they need. For the Texans, getting Demarius Thomas, they just lost Will Fuller. Yeah. That's huge for them, right?
He was going to walk anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Golden Tate
back.
going to Philadelphia. Yeah. Philadelphia has needed a receiver since Mike Wallace broke his leg.
How about Washington having the 2 top-rated safeties?
That, to me, on a team level, is the move.
Yep.
They got the top, according to Pro Football Focus, the top 2 safeties in football, and DJ Swearinger, who they already had, and then they get Clinton Dix. I think you said it earlier today, Les. Washington they looked up and they said, we can actually win the NFC East.
So what did Detroit make a good move?
Well, I don't understand Detroit or Green Bay's moves. I mean, they're literally half a game out of first. Yeah, half a game out of first place, a game out of first place. Why are you giving away assets?
I think that in Detroit's perspective, and it is foreshadowing because NFC North.
Yeah, right.
That's funny.
Because you picked them to go.
Hey, shut up, Kevin. We ain't talking about all this shit. No, but
paint that picture, Ross.
But what
I like what you.
What I will say is, I think at least from Detroit's perspective, I think that they have finally discovered a running game. And so I think that, there is a philosophical change offensively in terms of how they want to go and win games. I don't understand what Green Bay did, though, because you just gave up probably your best, if not, or second best, if not best defensive player.
Yeah.
Although the division is competitive.
I have an idea, but I'll wait till later in the show to bring that up. But as far as with Detroit, I think that for me as a fantasy football owner, having Golden Tate, looking up every week and looking at every time Matthew Stafford throws a touchdown and it's Marvin Jones Jr.,
yeah,
I think they thought that they could probably get more for Golden Tate and get something back because they can go to those guys. And what's the...
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, Galladay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think they're fine with those two, but it's really about the run game. Kerryon Johnson has been a revelation, and he also is a pass catcher out the backfield. So philosophically, I'm okay with what Detroit did. I agree with you, Les. Green Bay, I'm not so sure.
We will definitely.
And shameless plug though, I'm happy with Green Bay's move with the Ravens, and we'll get to that specific gentleman why.
Because I didn't mention him.
Right. I think it was a necessary move for us because we need a dynamic weapon of some sort in that offense. He may not be the key that gets us over the top, but it's another element that we need as we get into this playoff run.
What about
we gave a 7th round pick for him, so it's like nothing.
Well, yeah. he wrote his own ticket out. We'll get to that.
what about Demaryius Thomas in Houston?
Yeah, like I think Kenyon said, them losing Fuller on a fucking fluke PI, which was terrible. It's definitely a good look for them. I mean, he's at this point he's not as fast as Fuller. Demaryius used to be fast, but he's a lot bigger. He's more proven. His hands are a little but he also has not really had a pass thrower.
I think he's going to. I think this is the classic. He will be invigorated. That's the other thing that's interesting for me about this trading deadline. The vast majority of players that moved were receivers, and if you were to think about on the offensive side of the ball, the hardest position to sort of acclimate to in midseason is the receiver position. So part of me is a little bit, I don't want to get my hopes up too much that this movement is going to result in
the
sort of
changed
impactful.
a little bit though. Has more pass happy, like some of these.
There's still timing and cohesion with the quarterback.
The timing that you can't account for.
You
but
know
as
what I'm
far
saying?
as like the route tree and learning, unless it's.
I think it helps
something
if you are a
intricate.
veteran.
Yeah,
and,
that helps a lot.
So you already know how to adjust to different offenses because most likely you've played in more than one.
And when was last time
Yeah.
Demaryius was a 2? Because he's a definite 2 now. He's not the number 1 wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shit.
And this
He's a 3.
specific move, though, I think will help Watson because although Thomas doesn't have the top speed that Fuller does, he can be that third down security blanket that a young quarterback needs. And Kenyon, to your point, though, I can't let this go. That you mentioned that a lot of the players that move were receivers, which brings me back to the point we made a few shows ago. But why the fuck did the Cowboys give up a first when receivers were being traded like livestock, man?
For 3rd and 5th and 6th and who's the loser of the day? I'm surprised certain teams. I don't know, Minnesota, who has a terrible line, didn't try to go out and get line help.
Jacksonville still got Bortles as a quarterback.
Yes.
How about the Giants? Because literally everyone else in the division got better, got something but them.
That smells like something is going on there. Like
they know. I mean, it's all
tank. It's a tank job.
It sounds like they're booked for the.
And speaking of book for the bottom, let's get to it. This is our NFL halfway mark review show where we'll talk about some of the biggest surprises that we've seen in our respective divisions. Who has been the MVP up to this point in the division? Our biggest takeaway, and then also, as if you follow our show, you know that at the beginning of the season we preview the season. And so this is our opportunity to maybe get one mulligan back. So we will start with the NFC South. That was Dad's division.
Yes,
Devin, you had the NFC South. We'll start with who or what has been your biggest surprise in that division?
We'll go back to my proclamations in the preseason. I said that Julio Jones would be the most important person in the division. So my biggest surprise is the fact that Julio is second in the league in yards, top 10 in catches. But somehow Calvin Ridley has 6 touchdowns and he has 0. All the other players in the top 10 have at least 2 touchdowns. And the only player that has 2 touchdowns is a running back, which is Saquon Barkley. All the other like legit receivers have 4 and up. So we knew that he had problems getting in the end zone. But this is getting absurd at this point.
Is it him though?
I mean, 53 catches, 800 yards in 7 games, and he has no touchdowns, and really has 30 catches, 300 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
It's
Are they triple
inexplicable.
team? I mean, is really getting the 6 because they're triple teaming Julio, but he's still second in the league in yards?
It's weird. It's fucking weird.
Kevin?
Did he freeze?
So I don't know, Dev. I think it takes me back to the Super Bowl with Atlanta. And for me, it almost seems like we saw early on that they were forcing the ball to Julio, and they finally found someone else who can take that pressure off of him. And I feel like now that they have other options, they don't need to force feed him. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a problem that he's not putting those numbers up, especially for you fantasy football guys.
He's
But
still getting PPR
I mean,
points.
but I think at the end of the day, I think it'll be a good thing for the Falcons. Maybe not necessarily this season, but you have to have another weapon, some other threat to take that pressure off Julio. His numbers just aren't there.
Is it that he just doesn't want it? Because in the red zone, in the end zone, you got to want to go get the ball. You got to be willing to go, is it?
Just- think it's that.
You think you watched that Philadelphia game, the first game of the season, just like the playoff game. The plays in the red zone
Sark.
are horrific.
Cuddy Sark.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. They're horrific, and it's hard to get Julio the ball when you know that the only route he's going to run over here is a fade, and they put a safety on top of it, ends up being an interception.
Right.
They did it in the first game of the season. They did it in the playoffs last year. I mean, it's Sark, do something.
It's interesting to me. It kind of feels like one of those things, one of those narratives that's the media is making it bigger than what it really is, because I think, to your point, I think Calvin Ridley is sort of benefiting from playing with him. I think you also have to get Matt Ryan is balling this year, so you have to give him credit for going, to your point, Kevin, going where the defense allows him to go. And if you look at Atlanta's success and failures on the whole, it's not because Julio is not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it feels weird.
I just thought, I mentioned that this is a contract year. He said, I'm going to show up and ball out, and I want to be the highest paid wide receiver. And, I mean, he's on pace to have 100 and some catches and 1,900 yards.
Yeah.
And 0 touchdowns.
It's
like Keyshawn Johnson numbers.
Yikes. Give me your MVP thus far.
It's Drew Brees.
Really?
It's Drew Brees. It's
Not Cam?
No, 6-1. Probably the second best, maybe after this weekend, the best team in the NFC. They just won back-to-back big road games, which they don't normally do.
Yeah. Big road games, Baltimore and Minnesota.
And he's 14 touchdowns, 1 pick.
Okay. Give me your biggest takeaway thus far for the NFC South.
Biggest takeaway, my mulligan or takeaway?
Whichever.
Takeaway.
I mean, I said takeaway.
Takeaway? Okay, my biggest takeaway is that, because that's a different question that was asked, but my biggest takeaway is that I thought going into the season that this would be the best division in football, with the injuries that have hit Atlanta. I don't necessarily know if they are. I mean, they have 2 really good teams that I think will make the playoffs.
And your mulligan.
My mulligan is that I thought that Atlanta would win the division.
And it's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Hey, I'll piggyback on that, Dev. I think for the second time you made a mistake in not giving Carolina the love that they deserve. I mean, you poo-pooed them the first go-around. This time, I really think they're a solid team. There's nothing about them that sticks out, that's glaring, but they're just solid all around, both sides of the ball. They can dominate you up front, as we saw on Sunday.
Norv Turner has done a good job with getting Cam Newton to get rid of the ball more quickly, and his completion percentage is higher than it's ever been. Let's move to the NFC West. Red O, that is you, sir. Give me your biggest surprise thus far in a very predictable division.
Well, my biggest surprise is also my mulligan.
Okay.
And Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
I said they would probably be 4-12 because I really thought Pete Carroll had lost the locker room. I thought that the derision in their locker room would spread like a cancer, and it seems like Pete Carroll has made the right moves and has not only won over that locker room, he's made a genius move by drafting the brothers,
Shaquem
and Shaquille.
Shaquille.
And like that's loyalty for life right there in that locker room. So that it shows that his message still works. It's still where I thought it would be stale and he would lose players. He has that defense back humming. It's at this point the number 5 ranked defense in the league. They've won 4 of their last 5, but they are coming into the meat of a schedule. But to this point, they are a bigger surprise than I thought they were.
Okay, so we know for sure the NFC East winner, and as it looks right now, only one team's coming out of that division. I think in the South, or the North, I should say, one team. The South, you got your 2 teams. Are you willing to say that Seattle is a playoff team?
They will be borderline, but I actually think the Eagles will take that spot.
Okay. Give me the MVP of your NFC West right now.
MVP, that's easy. He's probably the MVP of the league, Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, that's real easy.
Outstanding. Yeah. Okay, and then your biggest takeaway.
Les Snead wants to be executive of the year real fucking bad. Cause just like you said, man, he's at the off season, he went all in and he pushing all his chips to the middle of the table. We are trying to get a chip this year.
Do they have any draft picks next year?
I want to ask, how do they keep
they gave him a 3rd today, right? In 2019, they gave him a 3rd. They don't have a 1st.
They're 8-0.
And but is their team going to be called on draft day?
Probably not.
They got, but did they
not the first day.
Well, if they let some free agents go to get some compensatory picks, right?
And they have a lot of 1-year deals.
And that is one thing I was reading today. That's one of the reasons why they're saying that the trade deadline was so active today is because the teams are starting to understand. It's not just New England and Baltimore anymore. Teams are starting to understand how compensatory picks work. And so now you have GMs that are willing to sort of get into that game.
You know what's a trip, though? Like, think about 3 years ago, how Les Snead was considered about to be fired.
That's right.
He's going from scapegoat to
Well, we were trying to figure out if it was him
or Fisher.
We figured it out. But again, their next 6 games are versus the Saints, the Seahawks, Chiefs, Lions, Bears, Eagles.
We're going to find a lot about
who they
the
are.
Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, NFC East, that was Junior Blue's division. Junior Blue, your biggest surprise thus far is?
The team in Washington.
Yeah.
5-2. They lost to the Saints on the road. They had a hiccup against the Colts, but outside of that, they've beaten the Panthers and the Packers. So, I mean, they've beaten some good teams.
Are you surprised at Adrian Peterson?
That would be my MVP.
That's your MVP?
That's my MVP.
Huh.
Think about it like this. Outside of the one game where I thought his career ended,
right,
in New Orleans, he's averaging nearly 100 yards a game. He's really brought that team a balance to that team. You know, Alex Smith is what he is.
That's
what he did.
So now he has a running back that a consistent running back that every game is plowing through almost to 100 yards a game. I mean, he's
still got the juice.
Yeah.
That's Booby Miles for real.
Booby.
Biggest takeaway.
Biggest takeaway. Hey, no matter how many weapons you have on offense, if your offensive line is trash and your quarterback is thinking about his post-retirement career, you're not going to win too many games.
# New York Giants. Enough said. One mulligan.
The team in Washington. Hey, look, I had them booked for the bottom, and the reason was because they had the worst run defense. They had just lost Geis. They have the second best run defense in the league right now. Deron Payne from Alabama is for real.
The Alabama boys.
And the Eagles, the Cowboys, and Giants all have issues.
Yeah. All right. Well, I had the NFC North. I'm going to start with a mulligan. Let's just get it out of the way. I said Detroit would be 11-5. I said that Matt Patricia, because of his New England background, they would run through the AFC East. Yeah.
He's so sober right
So they're 3-4. They would have to go 8-1 to hit 11-5, and I'm just gonna. That's not happening. So we can just scratch that. Biggest surprise has been the Minnesota defense. They've given up 29 points, 27 points, 38 points, 30 points. This was a defense that last year averaged 11 points per game given up. They've given up the most points in the division, and they still have the Packers to play. They got 2 games left with Omar's Bears, and they got to go to New England. That defense is not the same, Mike Zimmer.
That line ain't never been the same.
But it's the same players, right?
It is the same players.
Which is the weird
It's
thing.
Zimmer.
Nah.
It's Zimmer. MVP, co-MVP, Khalil Mack. But I'm not doing this division justice if I don't mention what Adam Thielen
Oh,
Jesus
for real.
Lord.
is doing.
Jeez.
That boy can catch.
Julio was number 2. He was number 1 in both receptions and yards.
Yeah, Adam Thielen, he just set the NFL record for most consecutive games with 100 yards receiving. Khalil Mack, I mean, he's changed the Bears. He's changed Omar's life. Literally.
He did.
The biggest takeaway for me is that this is going to be a 4-team race coming down the stretch. This is going to go to the end. You've got the 2 teams that are at top. Chicago, they just lost Chris Long for 6 to 8 weeks at guard. We've already talked about Minnesota's D. Devin's talked about their line. Questionable. Also, Dalvin Cook on the low. Where are you? Although Latavius Murray has played well. Aaron Rodgers is hanging in there. But like we talked about earlier, trading Clinton Dix
We're going to get to that.
is weird. And then Detroit, again, as I said, it looks like they're shifting to the running game. They did pick up Snacks Harrison, but right now they are a game out of first. I just feel like this division is going to come down to the last day. So that's my biggest takeaway. Before we get to the AFC, it's time to acknowledge our Brexit Bootbag winner. And this week, it's more than one person.
It sure is.
The winners.
Mr. Ross, please take it away.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and paint you all this beautiful picture of what happened last week. So last Saturday morning, while the Jacksonville Jaguars were in London, 4 Jags players, DJ Hayden, Ronnie Harrison, Barry Church, and Gerard Wilson, were arrested for suspicion of fraud by false representation at a London nightclub. They were accused of trying to leave the club without paying a hefty bill, and a subsequent altercation broke out between the 4 players and club security. Now, before we criticize these gentlemen, I will say that I can empathize with them, knowing, what it's like to be a target while out there in London. We know what it's like for an establishment over there to try to charge 4 black men for celery and carrots that were never part of the deal, okay? Before we came through and bossed up on them. So I get it.
Tried to steal our joy.
Tried to steal our joy. But I do have 3 issues with this, so I'll start here. Number 1. Y'all decided to go out and order $64,000 US worth of alcohol. Less than 48 hours before playing a season-altering, internationally televised game against the defending champions. Word? Word? Cool. 2, y'all thought that y'all 4, just y'all 4, could go and order $64,000 worth of alcohol and get it comped for free $99. Word, y'all 4. No one thought that they should bring the greatest quarterback that London has ever seen, and Mr. Bloke Bortles with y'all to at least add some cachet to this group. Cool. I'll let that ride. But the third and most important part about this is what really struck me, and that's that if you're a group of black men going to London looking to get caught all up in the shenanigans that nightlife has to offer, the one place you don't go
Right.
is some burlesque club in Piccadilly.
Piccadilly.
You don't go to Barnum and Bailey when you got Universal Circus down the street. You don't. Every black person knows that. So I think if you're in London and you try to live your black ass life, you go to Shoreditch. You go to Trapeze.
And live your best life.
The name itself tells you that they have all the high-flying acts and the most mesmerizing species that the world could offer.
Species.
So, Mr. Hayden, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Church, and Mr. Wilson, y'all didn't have a solid night out plan for this bullshit. And I'm happy that y'all didn't go to jail. We should be thankful that y'all didn't spend any prison time over there. But y'all should also be thankful and happy that we are giving y'all this Brexit Bootbag Award, because y'all deserved it.
Good picture, Ross.
Well said, Bob.
Damn
Well said.
dummies.
Let's get back to our
He went from Bob Ross to Red Fox.
With his Lamont wig on.
let's get back to our halfway point rundown. Let's move to the AFC. We've got the AFC West. Devin, your biggest surprise has been?
My biggest surprise is the Kansas City, Missouri Chiefs. I said all offseason, I didn't say it on the show because I picked something else, but like offseason, I didn't believe in these motherfuckers at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe in them. I still think right now history's on my side still a little bit because they have started out
Brother,
fast. Hey.
You got 2 weeks.
I know. They started out fast and not make the playoffs, or if they did, they didn't make any noise. But right now, they are fucking rolling.
Who can stop them?
Well, we have to find out.
MVP of the division is?
Mr. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he is the league
He
MVP.
didn't do nothing to deserve that.
That's good. Killing it, right?
He's absolutely smashing it right now. he might be the league MVP if it wasn't for Todd Gurley, but right now, if there was an AFC MVP, it would definitely be him.
Did you practice this shit?
No, I'm doing this off the top.
You sound just like him.
Oh my God. What's your biggest takeaway for the division?
Biggest takeaway for the division is they will probably get 2 playoff teams, and that will be all. I thought maybe there might be a third team that could sneak in there and at least contend.
Oh, okay.
And my mulligan is the fact that I didn't pick the Raiders to be booked for that. That I did not listen to Les at my house when he said that this is probably going to be some shit. And I thought, like, nah, because I fully thought that it was going to be the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked them. That was my take their record to the bank.
Yeah, take it right to the bank.
I said 6-10, and they would be the bottom of the division. They're 3-5 right now, so I'm on par for that. But then they're gonna be third.
Who's last?
There's a team that has no city right now.
Oh, a
Team with no home.
A bastardized team.
team with no home.
A team with no home.
Yeah.
By the way, this is for free, folks. Cortland Sutton, if he's available on your fantasy waiver wire,
Yeah, pick him
go pick him up pronto. I had the AFC North. I'm sure the brothers Johnson will be interested in sort of these, as you said,
Shenanigans.
proclamations. MVP for the division is Mr. Tyler Boyd. Okay?
Yo.
Yes. I concur.
Always open.
Mr. Tyler Boyd, 49 catches, 620 yards, 6 touchdowns. Those numbers are actually better than one Antonio Brown, and that's in 10 less targets. Tyler Boyd, what he's been able to do for Andy Dalton is he's become that release valve. Unfortunately, but also not surprisingly, Tyler Eifert went down. But the offense has continued on trucking because of Tyler. He stays getting open. He catches the ball. He was highly recruited actually out of Pittsburgh. Like when Cincinnati took him, I said, yo, that was a good pick. Yeah. He was an absolute bust last season, but he has come on strong and really has been the reason why that Cincinnati offense has been prolific and why they're 5-3 right now. So for me, he's the MVP. The biggest surprise to this point has been the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers are at the top of the division. I spent a good 3 minutes talking about how
for now,
if Le'Veon Bell, if he didn't show up, that you could look at Pittsburgh as being a team that's going to be at the bottom because it's going to be disruptive. But Mr. James Conner, he had something to say about it. So for me, that is the biggest surprise. The mulligan that I have, staying with that theme, is that I said that the most important player in the division was Le'Veon Bell. I had the right team, I had the right position, but the wrong running back. It's James Conner. James Conner is the most important player in the division, and like I said, I appreciate what Le'Veon is doing for the players from a player perspective because this is, mark my words, is a paradigm shift in terms of player relations with teams. But James Conner, he has been every bit as adequate, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then that leads into the takeaway, which is that the AFC North is the same old, same old. Pittsburgh's got a good offense. Their defense is trash. Baltimore is hanging there right there in the middle. They got a really good defense. It's going to come down to the end of the season. This just happens to be the year where Cincinnati has a good team, but we'll see what happens as we get later into the season. And Cleveland is where we expect them to be, which is at the bottom, and they fired somebody. And in this instance, they fired their coach and their offensive coordinator. So that's the biggest takeaway, is that the AFC North is what it has always been.
It's funny looking back at that show, though, that the conversation was, man, if Hugh can just get them to 6 wins, he might keep his job.
And they'll get to 6 wins, and he's lost his job before they got to 6 wins. Yes.
Will Marvin Lewis ever get fired?
No,
nah,
he's gonna die there.
Nah. And now, now with the success that they're having,
it happens every 3-4 years.
Unless this last 8-game stretch is abysmal.
Yeah,
they don't make the playoffs.
Here's the thing, though. The thing about Marvin is that he did very quietly make changes both to the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. So we'll see. Let's go to the AFC South. Kev, you had the AFC South. Give me your MVP at the halfway point.
My MVP is the best player in this division. It is Mr. DeAndre Hopkins. He is 5th in the NFL in catches.
I thought you were going to say he is filthy.
That's what I thought.
That too.
Well, that catch that didn't count, but counts to all of us, where he caught between his legs. And, they don't make them like that anymore. Yeah. And that dude is he's balling out. And we're really going to see how good he is and how valuable he is to the Texans now that their receiving core has been mixed up. But even though with that, I still do believe that protecting Deshaun Watson is going to be the key for them down the stretch with these last 8 games. So,
biggest surprise to this point?
My biggest surprise is that despite being the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL, Deshaun Watson is still producing despite that. I thought the difference maker was going to be if they could keep him clean or not, like we said on the introductory show. But even still, he's completing 64% of his passes, 15 touchdowns, 7 picks, a 98.4 QB rating. He's playing well through it. So
staying with that, and I'll open this up to all of you guys. Do you think, because it seemed like a lot of players, and Deshaun Watson stands out foremost in my mind, that at the start of the season, there were a lot of players that we expected to do well that really started off slow. Has the NFL preseason, because of how much they are protecting players during the real preseason, has the preseason sort of extended now so that we shouldn't really expect the elite players to really get going until week 3, week 4?
Look at the Eagles. I've said it twice on the show. Their preseason ended week 5. So, they've kind of been iffy, and injuries kind of play a part in that. But yeah, absolutely. We've said this either on the show or off the show. Football is a sport that you can't play if you're not used to getting hit or taking those hits, and there's really no way to get around that with the player safety. But That's why it takes a few weeks for people to get back and acclimated, especially coming off an injury.
I don't know if we can definitively say it yet because the Rams are 8-0. They didn't play anybody. I think the Bears not scheduled. Their standings would be exactly the way it was if they play Mr. Trubisky one more game in the preseason. Like there are just as many arguments for as there are against.
Yeah,
but the Eagles are different. Like Wentz is coming off injury. They lost some players. They lost some of the coaches. So like it could be they're just now getting it together because they have a new group together. So like we can't say for sure if that's what it is because there's evidence for both sides.
Yeah, I just think about Deshaun Watson's. Those interceptions. 4 of those 7 interceptions happened during the first 2 weeks. So those,
and I think it depends on position too. Like Devin mentioned with the Eagles, but same thing with the Texans. We're talking about their 2 best players that are coming back from injury: their quarterback and J.J. Watt, who's the face of their franchise. So yeah, I think it's going to take some time for them to get healthy. But lucky for them, they play in this division where no one else wants it. Their 5 straight wins, they're kind of shooing in first place now.
What's your biggest takeaway thus far?
My biggest takeaway is the struggle of the Jacksonville Jaguars, as predicted. There's been no progress at all from Blake Bortles now that he's back in the States. After last year's playoff run, like we had all expected, Leonard Fournette hasn't been available. Their offense hasn't changed or improved with the wide receiver mix-up. They still run those 3-yard drag routes that is the only pass that Blake Bortles can seem to complete. Their defense, you look at them statistically, they give up the second least yards per game, the top 10 in points allowed, but they've given up 28.5 points during this 4-game losing streak. And they struggle in situational football. They don't force the turnovers they did last year, which set that putrid offense up for at least a field goal. I'm not surprised that the Jags have fallen off. There's a question for that. But yeah, my takeaway was that I think that's the defining part of this division is that they've fallen back and teams like Houston taking that spot.
Yeah, the other thing too with that, Kev, is time of possession. All the games that Jacksonville has lost, that defense has been on the field at least 35 minutes in the game. And so that also has something to do with it. One Mulligan, what's your one do-over?
I want to apologize to all the people in the deep south of America, the AFC South. I gave you guys hope that there would be 3 winning teams in this division. Tennessee started out 3-1, and then they got beat by the Bills. They got shut out by the Ravens.
He said it was so much disappointment.
They've been spiraling ever since. I think it only may be one team with a winning record in this division when it's all said and done. Indy, we knew what they were. They are competitive in a few games. They make games interesting.
Yep.
But they don't have a shot. Tennessee's done. Jacksonville, their season was on the line in London against Philly, and we saw what they decided to do the day before.
Order a couple drinks.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the AFC East. Junior Blue. Biggest surprise thus far?
The Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
Back to talking to Deb at his house during the preseason, they looked horrible. They're 4-4 now. They even got a victory with the $72 million mistake at quarterback. So they're the biggest surprise to me because
that is probably the biggest surprise that Brock Osweiler got a win.
So
Let's move on, folks.
Oh yeah, because who gave him that $72 million?
The Texans gave it to him. But he gave it to the Bears.
Who's the MVP of the division?
There was no way I was going to pick a Patriot. So Tyrod Taylor, to me, is the MVP of the division because last year he led the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs. And with just about the exact same team, what are they now?
The Bills.
The legend of nasty
delinquent Bills.
Derek Anderson,
Peter, man,
Nasty Nate,
nasty Nate. We gonna get to Nasty Nate in a minute.
So yeah, he's my MVP because you never know, they might have snuck in the playoffs again.
Sam Darnold is the MVP. Is you tell me Sam Darnold is the MVP of the division?
No.
He don't have enough. Not gonna say it.
He don't have enough. He don't have enough weapons.
There's a real MVP.
No, it's Sam Darnold. Okay. Biggest takeaway.
Tom Brady is number 9 in passing yards.
Okay.
Tied for 7th in TDs.
Mm-hmm.
No wide receivers in the top 25. Their top running back averages roughly 50 yards a game. Their defense is 27th against the pass, 14th against the run, and 12th in scoring defense. And yet and still, they are still kicking everybody in the AFC East ass. So no matter how average New England is, all across the board, they still gonna get a number 1 fucking seed.
It's a good division to play in if you're
Man,
If you can get there, right? Is it Brady or is it the coaching, though, Kev? At this point, this year.
At this point, Brady, of course, his skills have diminished as you'd expect from anybody. Not too much of a drop off. It's definitely coaching. It's the front office when you can go out and get Josh Gordon when there are 30 other teams that could have signed him and didn't. I mean, the rich get wealthier, and lucky for them, they're in that division. But I'll give Belichick his props, man. He's continuing to put a team out there to get the job done when it counts. They had a tough one in Buffalo the other day that they pulled out. Most coaches don't overcome stuff like that.
Their defense pulled out a fantasy win for me, I'll tell you that.
What's your one mulligan, Junior Blue, about the AFC East?
I said the Patriots were going 13-3. They're gonna go 12-4. That's my mulligan.
Wow.
That's a humble brag. Yeah. I wasn't wrong about anything I said.
It's an easy division.
All right, let's get to our get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. This ought to be fun, folks. Junior Blue, Red O.
So, this past Sunday, the Los Angeles Rams played the Green Bay Packers. Running back Ty Montgomery was on the field for a kickoff return. The Packers were down 29-27. They had one timeout along with the 2-minute warning. So all Montgomery had to do is kneel the ball in the end zone and let the master Aaron Rodgers work his magic. That didn't happen. So Montgomery decided to catch the ball, return the ball, which led him to fumbling the ball, and the Rams recovered. The Rams went on to burn the clock out, secure their 8th win, and make Kenyon the lone wolf of losing on that pick. Now, after the game, an anonymous player who I will say I believe was Aaron Rodgers says the reason why it happened was they took him out of one play on the previous drive, and he came in, slammed his helmet, and threw a fit. Close quotes. And then before the kickoff, they told him to take a knee. They actually said, look, kid, just take a knee. And he ran it out anyway. So it was one player saying, nah, y'all gonna take me out? I'm gonna show you who I am. And I'm gonna do it my way anyway.
He sure did.
And he did it his way out the fucking way out of Green Bay.
They showed him.
They showed him as much disrespect as they could by only getting a 7th round draft pick and sending him to our 2 Baltimore boys team, the Ravens, who are very happy to get him for a 7th round pick.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, because all he can do is add some flavor to your team. And for that reason, I am very happy because now the Bears are winning that division. And
Abomination shots.
yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, sir. So not only did he get shipped out of town, but the Green Bay Packers told him he can get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Listen here, Freaky Ty. He can bring all that bullshit with him to Baltimore. He ain't returning no kicks. Just stick to what you know, son.
Stick to what you know.
Is he going to be 88?
Nah, he ain't gonna be fucking 88.
Oh, he gonna finally get a running back
He gonna
number?
get a running back number?
I don't know what he gonna
Has
do.
he crossed over?
He might. Well, can you run the ball? Yeah, with a team number. Oh, I see all our teams might be done. I don't know, but I don't think they're gonna give him 88.
Just don't fumble.
What was up with Lambeau West?
Man, I was gonna say that.
They travel well.
My
They travel
goodness.
really
Yeah,
well,
they
and LA
travel.
teams are pissed poor.
From
with
what
supporting
I
their
heard
teams.
was that the Rams that game was the tickets were expensive, so people were like, "Nah, I'm gonna sell these," because a lot of people buy and sell
Yeah.
tickets they don't
Right.
go to the game for the games they won't go to. But this game was selling well.
This was also Aaron Rodgers' only appearance since he's been in career since he's been a starter. This is only appearance in LA. So
YG enjoyed the Rams' victory.
Yes, he
more
did.
than anybody else.
I missed that.
He was out there wilding.
I have a thought though about all this. So we mentioned that the coaching staff told Ty to take a knee. We're assuming that's coming from on high, right? That's
McCarthy.
from McCarthy, right?
yeah,
We
he
know
said he told him that.
I'm thinking we know that the McCarthy and Rodgers relationship is fractured,
Here we go.
right?
It is.
I think
I'm-
it's dead ass done at the end of this season, and I think you might
Cleveland.
absolutely.
Yeah. McCarthy in Cleveland.
He will be their seventh
he has-
coach in 8 years.
He has a relationship with John Dorsey too.
Wow.
Oh, Mike
Green
McCarthy.
Bay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like
Playing
that
the
call.
long game.
because
I like that call.
because you go to the young quarterback who you can help develop. You can't develop Aaron anymore, and he's fucking fed up with you.
And he's smarter than you. Let's just
Right.
be honest.
There's
Hey, and
that.
for the first time in the history of ever, Cleveland's actually a pretty attractive job right now.
Right. That's why I say he takes it and starts over.
I think it's either him or DiFilippo. That's a smart move.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I definitely think he's done this year. McCarthy.
Yeah,
This is
he
yeah,
should have
yeah.
been done a couple years ago, but the writing is on the fucking wall.
Yeah. Rodgers is done with him. That'll be interesting to see though who actually takes that job.
They're not
though.
going to let Williams hold that shit down.
No.
Come on.
No.
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
he's talking
Someone's
about
going to
Green
come
Oh
in.
yeah. No.
There's
I'm talking about.
absolutely-
I think that Green Bay job. That's an interesting
Green Bay
job.
one.
Yeah, I'm
it's
talking
gonna
about
be
the Green
people
Bay job.
knife fighting for that job.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh. They don't beat Ohio
Look
State.
at Devin.
I know, right?
Fire. Shit.
Well, while we're on fire, let's get this money.
That's right.
Let's get into All In with Ken, our gambling picks segment.
Yeah.
Sponsored by MyBookie. That's MyBookie.com. Minimum deposit of $50. MyBookie will match your bet 100% up to $1,000. Use the promo code 32KR. Almost fucked that up. 32KR. And last week, my man Ken was 3 for 3. And if you don't know, that's 100%. Ken. Let's get this money this week. What we got?
We're going to keep the party going. First of all, we're going to start with Omar's Bears. Why? Because Nasty Nate's in the building first. Nathan Peterman. Okay, let me give you some numbers. In 2018, Nathan Peterman is 13 for 32, 108 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 picks in 2 starts. He has a quarterback rating of 21 for his career.
The legend.
3 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Please take Chicago straight up, okay?
Kaepernick does not have a job.
He doesn't have a job. Take Chicago straight up. That's number 1. Number 2, we've got, I believe in the Monday night game, we've got the Tennessee Titans coming off of a bye going against the Dallas Cowboys. The total in that game is 41. Take the under. Take the under. Tennessee, their average game totals for all of their games is 33. On the road, it drops to 29. Dallas at home averages 28 points a game in scoring. Here's the thing, though. That number is inflated because of the 40-7 beatdown they put on Jacksonville. And as we talked about earlier, Kevin, with Jacksonville, time of possession, Dallas had the ball 38 minutes in that game. That's not going to happen against the Tennessee Titans. So take the under Tennessee versus Dallas. And then finally, Les's Raiders. You know, I'm feeling generous this week. You know, I want to give love to Omar's Bears. Now we'll talk about Les's Raiders. That's the Thursday night game. The Raiders are an underdog, a 3-point underdog to the San Francisco 49ers. Here's a name no one knows in here right now. Nick Mullins. That's the starting quarterback for San Francisco because C.J. Beathard will not be playing with an injured wrist. Nick Mullins, but it's disrespectful that with David Carr, John Gruden, and the cast and characters that they have in Oakland, that they are 3-point underdogs to San Francisco. Take Oakland to cover. So once again, that's Oakland to cover. That's the under in Tennessee, Dallas, Monday Night Football, and that's Chicago straight up. Put $100 down. Thank the league ambassadors. Once again, that is mybookie.com. Promo code 32KR. Win you some money. Let's get this train going. And with that, let's get into our game picks. We've got a lot of good games this weekend on the slate. I'm going to start in reverse. Let's first start with the Los Angeles Chargers coming off of the bye, going to Seattle. As Redo talked about, the upstart Seattle Seahawks are at home against the Chargers. Russell Wilson has not lost at home to an AFC team yet. Will that streak continue, Kev?
I'm praying that it does. Yeah, I'm picking Seahawks. I don't necessarily know why, but that's what I'm doing with.
Because you want them to lose so that Baltimore can win and you can get closer. Redo,
I think the streak comes to an end. I'm taking the Chargers.
you're taking the Chargers. Dad,
I got the Seahawks at home. They played the best team in the league. Very tough. Only lost by 2. I think they beat the Chargers.
Same thing. Seahawks at home.
okay. I'm definitely taking my Chargers to win. They've only lost 2 games this year. They lost to the Chiefs and the Rams, the number 1 and the number 3 scoring offense in the NFL. Seattle is number 17. They can't score with the Chargers. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers, who we've talked a lot about, against the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Junior Blue, who do you have?
The Patriots, because at the beginning, we said that beginning of the season, we were like, all they got is A-Rod. That's all they have. That's all they have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm Pat's at home.
Jimmy Graham is trash.
Yeah.
For 5 years now.
Yeah. Patriots at home.
Patriots at home?
Patriots.
Patriots.
Aaron Rodgers has never played in Foxborough, and he doesn't have a road win this year. Fucking Patriots.
Wow. I'm all alone on the Packers again. We're going to
2
try
weeks in a
this
row?
again. 2 weeks in a row.
You ain't learned your lesson.
I like
Fire's hot.
I like a shootout. Short week. A-Rod's pissed off. And
I
here's
thought about that.
Here's the question. Why were the Patriots? It was reported the Patriots are looking for wide receiver help. It's either one of 2 things. Blocking on the outside. They're not happy with the blocking. Or Josh Gordon is on his way out.
Well, Josh Gordon got suspended the first half of Monday night's game. I wonder why.
He started.
He was supposed to be.
He was supposed to, but he started.
Because they need wide receivers.
Because they need wide receiver help. Finally, I think the game of the week, we've got the New Orleans Saints going against the Los Angeles Rams. Dad talked about it. The Saints coming off of 2 really big road wins. The Rams are undefeated. Something has to give. Dad, what is it?
Hesitantly, I picked the Rams.
Really?
Yeah, I think that if you let that offense in that track meet building, I think they lose the home field advantage of the Dome. And I think if you look at the 2 defenses, there's one that's a little bit better than the other.
Righto.
I'm going with the Saints. I think Drew Brees threw 120 yards last week, and he's going to throw close to 400 this week. I know the running game's going good, but I think he's going to have to throw the ball to keep up with scoring, and I'll take Drew Brees any day.
See, I'm with you. I like the Saints, but I'm going the opposite way.
That's
I've
what
been
I'm going.
saying all year, you can run on the Rams.
That's what I'm going.
Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, ball control, keep that offense off the field. Drew Brees still makes plays. Why? Because Marcus Peters has been getting roasted since Aqib Talib has been gone. I like the Saints to win. You're with the
I'm the
Saints?
same thing.
Kev.
Listen, Dante Fowler was actually out with his Jag teammates that night. He left before they skipped out on the bill. I don't trust him going to New Orleans either. I'm picking the Saints. It's a party city.
It sure
All
is.
right.
I'm Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf. You're Lone Wolfing with the Rams. Okay.
I
Damn,
really
undefeated team.
really wanted to pick the Saints, but like that offense in that building.
Makes sense.
Pew, pew, pew.
All right. Yeah. Let's see the records because we are at the halfway point.
We ain't got to.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Kevin is at 82 wins, which if you Google NFL picks by experts, you won't see Kevin's name on there, but his 82 wins is top 5 for sure.
Dead or alive.
Devin, Les, and myself were all in the ballpark at 77. Red O, he's at 71.
I gotta hold you down, baby.
Listen, he made a move this week. He got
Yeah.
10 out of 13. So
I'm still holding y'all down though.
we know.
Keep it 100.
All right,
Somebody got to bring up the rear.
we good?
We Gucci.
All right, enjoy the games this weekend. A lot of good games this weekend. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
Smoke liquor.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's mowed like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway. What he did, what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win at the 2-yard line. And make no mistake, we running it in.